And we've heard a lot in these chambers. We've heard a lot regarding Senate Bill 5. And let me just say that when I first got my first lesson in politics from my father, Dr. Stephen Reece Sr., he told me that, you know, politics is an art of compromise. Sometimes you're going to get some of the things you want, sometimes you won't. But there comes a time when there are those issues that are uncompromisable. And that's what makes you who you are and what you stand for. And he told me that politics is not about winning elections or losing elections. It's about standing for something that you believe in, something that you're willing to lose an election for because you believe in your heart. And this bill is something that I cannot, as a representative of the 33rd House District, compromise on. This bill, I love to eat birthday cake. This bill is like a bad cake. Put all the ingredients, got all the wrong ingredients in it. You bake it, you say, you know, this is a bad cake, but let's throw a whole lot of icing on it. We keep throwing icing. So the question became, why didn't we bring in amendments? Well, there's no amendment. There's not enough icing to put on a bad cake. This is a bad cake. What we have proposed is to scrap this cake, because sometimes you got to throw the cake in the garbage can and start all over from scratch and put the right ingredients in. The right ingredients is not to have a polarizing piece of legislation that polarizes not only people in this chamber, not this aisle and that aisle. I'm talking about in the streets. Ohio is polarized because of Senate Bill 5. So let's throw the cake away. That's real leadership. There's no timetable. Let's sit down at the table with all of the interested parties. And in my time as the vice mayor of Cincinnati and the vice chair of finance, where we balance the budget every year, we didn't lay off anybody. We were able to keep firefighters and police officers working. But we sat down at the table and said, look, we've got an issue. Let's work together. Let's work collectively. And there was give and take. And the unions gave some, and we gave some, and we went back and forth, and we've got a good product for the citizens of Cincinnati. And I was hoping when I came up here that we would have a similar process. But unfortunately, all I got was, here's Senate Bill 5, make a few amendments, we're going to give you a couple weeks, and that's what it is. I'm making a decision on the livelihood of citizens. The livelihood of citizens. In Ohio, we have a diverse tax base. We've been talking a lot about private sector versus public sector. Well, I've got news for you. The public sector, our bosses, are the people. They're our shareholders. And it's not just the rich. It's the everyday, the firefighters, the nurses. They're all the teachers. They're our shareholders. They pay taxes too. So they're interested in what we do. We work for them. We're collecting a check because of them. And so I'm a little hurt that as we walk the halls and we walk by those who mop the floors, we walk past those who sweep the floors. My mother, who passed away from breast cancer, was in and out the hospitals. I know more probably about the hospitals almost than a doctor, because she was in it all the time. And I thank God for those nurses. And who am I to walk past the nurse, say you're good enough to take care of me and my mother, but you're not good enough to negotiate better wages. You're not good enough to have health care yourself. We're going backwards. So I didn't come up here to go backwards. I came up here to go forward. And I think that this bill definitely takes us 100 years backwards. We're talking about let's do it how we did it 100 years ago. It's not taking us forward. My grandfather, I went and visited his grave this weekend because this Senate Bill 5 just got me going. I've got a couple busloads of folks that are here from Hamilton County, firefighters, police officers, teachers that are here today. But my grandfather was a veteran. He served in the Navy, served in 2 wars, came home only to be able to shine shoes as a young African-American male. because of the union, he had tried out for the postal office, but he didn't have that connection. You know, they say that hookup. He didn't have a hookup to get him in. But thank God for the labor unions who created a fair process so that if he went in and passed the test like everyone else, he could be a post office worker. And on that job, he worked over 50 years. Was able to build a house from the ground up. And in those days, that's a big thing, building a house from the ground up. His piece of the American dream. He wasn't trying to be a billionaire. He knew he couldn't be Donald Trump. He just wanted to be Edward Reece to build his house so his kids could be in it. And go to work every day and know that when he goes, they're going to be fair. They can't just give him a pink slip and say, well, we're letting you go. Why? Because we can. The labor, those who are in the labor movement, the teachers, the firefighters, the janitors, the nurses, they've had our back. They got our back. That's what the young kids say. I got your back. They got our back. When a fire happens, they go in, they try to save us. They got our back. When a crime happens, we first to call the police. They run, they try to get the criminals. They got our back. Those in the prison systems, we got the worst that we wouldn't even want on our streets. In the prisons, they got to deal with them every day. They have our back. And then we show gratitude by introducing Senate Bill 5 to stab them in the back. My grandfather would turn in his grave if he knew his granddaughter would support this, taking them back, where African Americans were mistreated on jobs, but thanks to the labor movement, there's a set of rules, set of guidelines to protect them. As women, there's a set of rules, set of guidelines to create fairness. A lot of us talk about Dr. King and we say, oh, on his holiday, I get tickled by this. On his holiday, we celebrate it and we give speeches and we even quote him. But remember, when we were in the thick of it, when the history was being made, everyone wasn't with Dr. King. So the question today is, what side of history do we want to be on? And I want to be on the right side of history. Now, do we need to work together? Yes. Should we work together? Absolutely. Can we work together to solve the problems of the state of Ohio? Absolutely. But all of the stakeholders have to be at the table, not after we draft the bill. Don't say, oh, I heard from some people after. What do you think about what I wrote? Help us write the bill. And I know we do that. Just being up here, the lobbyists come to me and say, hey, I've got a draft. Let's work together on some things. So I know we've done that before. Why can't we do it with the everyday workers? Now, I know that I'm not dumb. I can count. That's another thing my dad told me to do in politics, be able to count the votes. And we know that today, I would hope that we have changed some minds, but some, you just get your mind made up, tunnel vision, not going to change, and that's unfortunate. But I see this polarizing bill and this movement of workers that are here today and are at home in my districts and districts across this state. I see this as a David and Goliath movement. Little Davids, the nurses, the teachers, the janitors, the custodians. Little Davids, the police officers, the firefighters, correctional officers, the bus drivers. The little Davids, the social workers, the sanitation workers. The little Davids. I urge a no vote on this bill, but I will tell you that the little Davids are in this fight to the end. And there will be a time when we take this to the ballot that the government, Goliath, will be challenged. Mr. Speaker, I would ask that we do the right thing today by voting no on Senate Bill 5. But I would say...
The distinguished... I'm sorry.
I will ask a no vote on Senate Bill 5 today, and certainly say that if we don't, we will be to the ballot to make sure that the people's voice is heard. Thank you.